So I had this idea for the game, and I give Mark the lowdown, and he went and prototyped that. And we quickly realised through playing it that idea was not going to work because it's theoretical at this point. You think it's going to be good, but it isn't when you actually start prototyping it. So Mark said, "Tell you what, you give me your baby. I'm going to go away and I'm going to I'm going to figure out how to make this into a game." And then he came back a couple of weeks later and said, "I've got a new prototype. It keeps all the stuff that you like, that I thought was important to the character of the game in there." And we just played it, his prototype, just simple cubes, prototype stuff, and we couldn't stop playing that. And then we realised, this is something right now. This is it needs a bit of work, it needs a bit of this and a bit of that. Let's do it. And I must have took about a month, I'd say, till we had a prototype where I could not stop playing it.
Please welcome concept artist, designer, and game designer Shaun Mooney to this episode of the Learn Squared podcast, where Shaun reveals his exciting new adventure in developing and building his very own game, Trash City Turbo, which you can wishlist on Steam right now. Shaun has a very decorated career lasting close to 20 years working in the games industry, and despite his many talents and skills that he's nurtured across many roles he's held in that time, from concept artist to art director and beyond, in this episode, Shaun reveals why his preferred role is to simply be away with the fairies. So let's jump in and hear more from Shaun about his everlasting attachment to drawing, the power of comics, and why he decided to build his game with his creative partner Mark, and how they're doing it as a two-man team, plus much more. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Learn Squared podcast. I'm delighted to welcome on the amazing Shaun Mooney. Welcome, Shaun.
All right, mate. Yep. Glad to be here.
So yeah, before we get into all the juicy stuff, which, as we've been speaking offline, there's quite a few juicy things that you're up to right now. If you wouldn't mind getting the pleasantries out of the way and letting us know a quick rundown as to who you are and what you do.
Okay, yeah. Yes, my name's Shaun, as Aaron said there. I guess if anyone knows me already, it'll be that's that guy who draws on social media a lot, like street sweepers and bin wagons and stuff like that. So, yeah, I've been working as a concept artist for about 15 years in the games industry.
Wow.
I've got 20 years total experience, but the first 5 years were doing I used to be an environment artist and a game designer I always wanted to do concept, but I wasn't really good enough at the time. We can get into that later, I guess, more detail, but I was basically would take any job, and I interviewed for art, and they looked at my art and said, "You've got some promise here, but there's not really any art jobs at the minute, but we've read your GDD." So at my uni course, the written part was you would write a fake game design document, and the designer looked at that and said, "Actually, this is not bad. Why don't you come work as a designer? And then we'll slowly, when artwork comes in, we'll give you a bit of artwork and a bit of design." It ended up becoming a bit of a hybrid job.
Oh, sick.
For about 5 years, and it slowly transitioned into being focused on a 3D environment artist. And then I was working on my 2D skills, and then I made the leap to be a concept artist. And that was about 15 years ago. I've been working pretty much for about, I'd say 18 and a half, 19 years in-house as a concept guy, lead artist, art director, project art director, studio art director, and done a bit of creative direction as well in R&D departments and stuff, which that's the best job, I think. I love that job.
Is it?
It's great, yeah. Really good.
Why would you say that? Is there anything specific about it?
What I like about it, because I have, I love to get involved in game design. And when you're doing sort of more, if you're in charge of a game or a product and you're sort of the game director, you have a game director and an art director. But when you merge them two jobs and it's coming from the same person, you get to then sort of go, right, I think this is what the game is about. Here's the core pillars. And every time you're thinking about that stuff, your art brain is thinking, how do I realize this? How do I display this? It's kind of like two cars driving side by side to the same destination, I guess. And I love dipping into the other because I find that when I'm doing one, I'm subconsciously solving an issue that I'm not thinking about as I'm concentrating on that. And then when I swap, it reverses. And I just love that idea of building up a little, here's the whole game. Here's the core pillars, and here's the art direction together. And then you go to a team and sort of say, right, let's try and realize this now. it's just really fun. I love it. I
Nice.
really, really like it.
Sick. We're definitely going to dive into that a little bit more later on because that sounds super fascinating. And actually, already the stuff that you just said just feels in a lot of like the pictures that I had about your journey and questions that I had. It just explains so much already based on the stuff that you do and what you're trying to do as well. That's already incredible. But going back to like when you first got in, was that straight after uni? Was that almost like after uni you got that job straight away?
Yes, I mean, do you want me to do like the education stuff as well? Do you want to hear
No,
about
no,
that?
it's up to you. Yeah, just like, but like when you got that game design job, was that almost like straight after uni? Or was there a little bit of a period between?
Yeah, I was really fortunate. I got a job like within 2 weeks of leaving university. Cool. Reason being was when I went to uni for game design, I think when I joined the course I did, I went to university in Preston, University of Central Lancashire, for game design. I've been doing college and stuff like that, went to uni, and when I started that course, that was one of 3 in the entire UK doing that course. So it was literally the beginnings of I guess game development in higher education. And when I'd left that course, I think there was like 21, and now there's thousands. It's everywhere. So so to answer your question, I guess when I got on that course, luckily, just timing, someone who was leaving the industry and came to be a tutor. So we got like a chap called Josh, used to work at Warthog, Josh Taylor. He was like one of my first sort of mentors, I guess.
Mm.
He really sort of whipped us into shape and said, no, this is what they're doing in game dev. So it wasn't like any bullshit that, you know what I mean? It was someone who does it telling you how to do it. So because I knew him and I'd done good on my course, I immediately had a connection to the industry via Josh. So when the company that I ended up working for, which was called Embryonic Studios, started, this was, like I said, 20 years ago, he recommended me and a few other students, said these guys are not bad, they might be good juniors. So we'd made an impression on him, and he said these guys could probably do it. They're a bit rough around the edges, but
yeah.
So I was lucky that Josh came on. I don't know what would have happened if he didn't, because I wouldn't have had that direct sort of in. And it wasn't like we lobbied for this. This just happened.
Yeah,
I just got a message off Josh saying, "There's a studio. I'll put your name forward. Don't disappoint me. Don't embarrass me. Go and have an interview." And that's why I had the interview where they said, "Your artwork's okay, but let's do this." So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've had a few similar experiences, especially like at uni myself, where I don't know exactly what you mean, but I'd love to hear your thoughts a bit more on that as well. Like somebody who comes in that, like you said, like it's not bullshit, or the sense of like it's just not almost educational. It's almost like I'm just going to give you the reality of what it's actually like, and this is how to do it. Do you think there's a specific reason why that responds to you or responded well to you?
What you mean, like how he taught, or?
Yeah, or just like having somebody who almost literally was like more industry versus, I guess, a lecturer. Is that a better way to describe it?
Yeah, so the other lecturer was a chap called Jim Thompson, and his background was more like board game design and kind of like LARPing type stuff, where you go out and sort of, it's game design, it's just in a completely different medium. So we always had good game theory, but then we got like that practical application of what it's like in games, like Josh would say, this, basic things like this is how texture sheets work, and this is how, when you're putting a pitch together, these are the typical type of things you would put in there. Josh was also like, had a background in 2D and concept, so I really was like interested in like asking him constantly about that, because that's where I was always a drawer, I wanted to draw. So he would show me stuff from industry that was just like this is like this is just as conceptart.org is starting. So this wasn't prevalent everywhere. So when you see something from a project that's like in the early stages of development that no one's seen, it was just like, what the hell is this? Like, oh my God, like it was like finding treasure. So just even seeing it was like your brain's, oh, this is how I should be doing this. It was informing how you would then go about your university project. So it was like seeing behind the curtain. Now it's like, that's commonplace. That's most, like I was speaking at university last week, FutureWorks in Salford. And just thinking about it now, the stuff I showed them, I got shown like maybe not even a quarter. I showed them loads of stuff, and they saw more in that 10 minutes that I think than I saw in a year. You know what I mean? So now it's. So at the time, it felt really special to see something like that, and it just fired us up. Like there was people on my course who went on to do like really amazing things in the industry. We'll, like talk about them later. And we were all like, "Oh my! He's in this. Look at this!" And sort of, we were all just like buzzing, bouncing off the walls, type excitement, type stuff. So yeah, I think that's important for students to see. You know, and Josh as well is like a proper normal bloke. I think in students' heads, as an industry person coming in, you always be, "Oh my god, you put them on these pedestals and they're just normal people." So it was nice to see that as well. You know,
yes,
just a normal bloke. I could, if he's normal, he can do it. We can do it. That was another thing we got from it. You know, he wasn't some hoity-toity art student who was, you know, yeah, it was great.
So you mentioned there like about drawing. Mm-hmm. Did you get into the course? Like, what about your drawing journey? Was you always a drawer first, or like what led you to pursue a career in game design? Was that just kind of like the opportunity that you had, or is that a different story altogether?
Yeah, so I've listened to so many of your podcasts where I've heard this in what I'm about to say. I wanted to be comics. Comics was what I wanted to do. But to go before that, like I've just always been drawing my entire life, and it's going to sound weird. People who are artists might get this, but when you're a drawer, and you're born and that's what's natural to you. You're not aware that you're good at it until other people just start telling you all the time. Do you get that? Like, you know, like when you're a kid.
I understand what you're saying, yeah.
Because it's all you know, it's all you know, and you don't understand. What do you mean you can't draw something? You just draw it. I remember I remember I drew a picture of my mum. She fell asleep on the couch, and I drew a picture of mum. I think I was like 4. And I remember the family going mad over it. And I was like, well, it's just a picture of my mum. Like I was dead, like whatever. And then my dad always says at school, the teachers would say, like, he's drawing in perspective. And he's like 7. And my dad's like, but my dad was acclimatized to it. So he was like, yeah. But because my dad's, he's not like a particularly like amazing artist, but my dad can draw a bit as well. So you're a bit blind to it. And the teacher's like, no, this is good. So then I always remember being told, this can be a job. You can turn this into a job. You're good at this thing. This is your job. This will be a job for you. So all through my life, I was drawing and then getting that reinforcement from my family of like, this can be a job. Awesome. This can be a job. And when I was, I don't even know when it started, but I remember getting this comics. You know, it started with like Beano, Noddy, Enid Blyton. We used to have these Enid Blyton collections. Amazing, like illustration stuff. And then as I got to about between 8 and 10 is when my dad was like a big kid at heart. He started sort of passing me like 2000 AD because he read that when he was a kid in the 70s. So then I got into 2000 AD and that was like, whoa, this is awesome. So I was obsessed with comics, like absolutely obsessed with 2000 AD. And that was my dream. It was like, I want to draw comics. So that was the plan all through school. And I've heard other people say this is getting constant trouble at school. He's not doing his work, he's drawing in the margins, he's doing everything, but he just draws, which, you know, is a common thing for artists to get in trouble. And then I went to college to do art and design, did that for 3 years total. I did an intermediate course and an advanced. And then in comics at the time, when would this have been, like around 2000, I'd say? So 99, 2000-ish. Comics, it was when I first noticed comics were using, we're painting or created digitally. There was digital element coming into comics because like the guys I grew up like idolising, like we can get into this later as well, like art heroes, Simon Bisley, Dermot Power, all them guys, you know, they're painting there. So I was trying to learn that. But then I clocked this digital stuff and I was like, I should probably figure what that is because we never had a PC in the house. We were a family. We had like a NES and a Mega Drive and a PS1. We weren't a computer family. Computer games, but not a tower. So I found out there was a multimedia course, which was essentially web design. Right. But I knew they learned Photoshop on it, and I knew Photoshop was a tool that you could use to do digital art. Excuse me. So went did that course. Not really thinking I want to be a web designer, but I want to learn digital art creation. Still thinking I'm going to do comics. While this is happening, by the way, absolute avid gamer, obsessed with games. But for some reason, my brain didn't put together that was a job.
Yes.
That just seemed like an alien world. Like, that's never going to happen. This is video games. I think my brain was like, it's all done in Japan. I wasn't really cognitive of, that it's a worldwide thing. And then one day my tutor Frank said, a chap came in from Preston University. You missed it. I was off that day. And he said, you would have really liked this. It was a video game course. And I just remember sort of going like, what? And like, suddenly I was like, what? A what course? And he said, it's a video game course. And I was like, right, comics be that, like, it's not that I think games were sort of overtaking that passion. You know what I mean? Like, I was still an avid comic guy.
Yeah.
But gaming was starting to become the prominent thing I was doing in my spare time, my hobby.
Yeah.
So I was like, hang on, you can learn to make video games. And so it's suddenly the cog started saying, like, I should maybe try this. So I literally went and did that. Or went to apply to do that course at the time, because there was a whole part of that course was about artwork, about creating art. So the portfolio I went and got on that course, it was all pen and ink drawings and some Photoshop stuff that was terrible.
Yeah.
But on that course, I learned how to introduce Photoshop into my artwork. But
nice.
So that was a really long-winded answer there, but
oh no, perfect. Yeah. It gives me like a nice picture of like the journey that you've been through, and I can relate to some of the stuff as well. So would you describe it like we mentioned before? Did it feel like kind of like you said, the multiple moving cars? You're jumping from one car to another, like from the comic books almost to the gaming, because I guess it kind of just got your attention.
Kind of, yeah. It was like I say, it wasn't that I think it's a thing. This was all a blessing in disguise, by the way. I would have been a terrible comic artist because I ended up doing a bit of comic stuff for an independent UK firm, and I hated it. Not because of the people were great, the work was great. I just suddenly realised this is not fun to produce a comic. I wasn't having fun.
Interesting.
But concept design, which is like, because comic sequential, isn't it? Comic sequential art, drawing the same thing over and over, which is, God, people who do that to, like, the people who are amazing at that, like, God bless them. I can't do that. What I learned was I like to design stuff, not necessarily do sequential storytelling. And I think once I started to do, because I used to draw my own comics, obviously, but when I stopped doing that and started doing more artwork that was, I guess, what we'd call concept art or similar to what we do as a job, that's where, like, I was like, oh, this is, like, I don't want to say I sort of shunned comics, but they faded a bit. They didn't become that main thing. I just was like, this is the thing. This is what I like to do. I love that stuff. I love, like, Shaun, go and design a PDA and just getting into that. How do you hold it? Like, what type of screen it is? But you do this stuff as well. I found that was fun. Way more fun than drawing comics or trying to draw comics. Yeah.
Amazing.
So yeah, hopped out of that car into this car.
Yeah. What about, like, I'm gonna hop around a bit, and we'll probably still get to, like, the present and the future as well. But I'm fascinated always by the past. What kind of, like, tools were you using as a kid? Like, did you have to kind of do like little bits and pieces here and there, or did you kind of like have a nice art set? And what kind of tools and materials were you using to get by?
So the first thing I can remember in terms of, like, stuff that I like to draw with was fine liners, like a pencil to do a bit of sketch. But I love fine liners, and I know exactly why. I could trace it all back to, like, certain key sort of moments in my life where I'd seen things that just made such a massive imprint on me. It was like, I need to learn to do that. Like, the first one was, like I mentioned before, seeing Simon Bisley's artwork on the ABC Warriors, which was a 2000 AD comic with Pat Mills, The Black Hole it was called. Have you spoken to Gav Roth, by the way? You know Gav Roth, don't you?
I'm familiar with him, but not spoken to him.
Yeah, in my brain I was going to say when I think about it, because he had the exact same journey. He saw that and he was like, "Oh my god, Bisley!" It's an amazing collection of drawings, but it's all ink work, like this intricate, beautiful sort of ink work. Very 80s, very British comic stuff, very violent, dark. I saw that and I was like, "Oh my god, this is incredible!" And there was other people doing similar stuff, like Brian Bolland and other people who did this immaculate line work. Like, and I think if anyone actually knows me, I always see people say, "Oh, your line work's really nice," and I trace it back to these are the roots of why.
Interesting.
It's because I was looking at these artists. These artists made like massive impressions on me. So it was seeing that, and I used to copy it as well. I used to copy the comics, like I was drawing my own stuff, but I would copy that and like through osmosis, just sort of absorb a bit of how to do things and stuff, and then you switch it into your own style. And then the other really big one was seeing Akira comics as well, because Tomo was my favorite artist. Like
specifically the mangas, right, as opposed to the anime. Okay.
Yeah. So I saw the comics first.
Nice.
And like I say, I remember the day. I remember literally everything that happened. Like there used to remember video shops. There used to be this awesome video shop in Haywood. Milner in Rochdale. Excuse me, where I'm from. But under the video shop, they had this massive mega newsagent that sold comics as well. Like, you don't see that now. You don't go into a newsagent and see the type of comics I was seeing in this newsagent. This is like a mom and pop shop as well. It's not a franchise. And it would have been, I was 14, so it was 1994, and it was issue 3 or 2 of Manga Mania. Do you know what Manga Mania is? Manga Mania was, I believe, it might have been Marvel or Epic, basically started serializing Japanese anime, like manga, in these, like, I think it was fortnightly or monthly.
Right. And
it would be like Appleseed was in there, Akira, Dominion, Tank Police, and classic manga stuff. And the cover that, we'd been picked a video up, come down to get some snacks, and like say my dad's a big kid, a big nerd, so let's go look at the comics. And I was just walking and just seeing Manga Mania, and it was a Canada with the laser gun. It's what became the VHS cover, and I was like, "What's that?" So I picked that up, and was thumbing through it, and I just saw them pages from Akira. It was the motorbike chase scene at the start of the manga. I was just shaking my dad over, look at this, and I went, "We're buying it." That's awesome, let's buy it. Sick. And I remember just staring at that stuff and just being like, it sounds like cliche and people say all the time, but it was a truly like mind-bending thing to see, because it's a culture clash as well. Like I had 2000 AD, which is amazing, but then suddenly you see like this Japanese stuff, which was just like so. It was like alien from it, but you could see that it was, you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, this is what comics look like in Japan. So then we started collecting that like crazy, me and my dad, and then obviously we found out there was the film. But them two artists particular is why I would do line work. So I started buying fine liners because I just wanted ink. Now they use professional ink, but I just buy a 0.5 ink ball pen, and some like printer paper, cartilage paper. The ink always bled. So I was arguing with mum. She said, "Oh, I bought you a drawing pad." I was like, "It's cartilage. It doesn't work." So I like print paper because it just held the ink well. And I can't remember the names of the pens, but I'd go to WH Smith and just buy like a big cup full of like these like fine liners. I've still got like like what they call it, your writer's bump, just from holding a pen. Years and years, like even before I went to college, I had this a giant callus on my finger because I'd just be constantly, because it's really time consuming to draw with a fine liner, especially when you've got to do blocks of black ink, because I didn't think, buy a marker.
So you just had that one size?
Well, I had a collection of one size, either 1 or 0.5 ballpoint ink nibs. And just out of my bedroom, on the floor, just sort of scribbling with listening to Guns N' Roses.
That is amazing.
Get some flashbacks.
That's amazing. And do you feel like your relationship now, looking back at that line work, does it still feel like this thing that's above you on a pedestal, like it's still in the distance, or do you feel a lot closer to it now?
What, in terms of being able to do stuff that I compare to their work? You mean, or just
does it almost feel like they're your peers now, or they're still a bazillion miles ahead?
Bisley and Tomo are gods, like among men. this might be controversial. I think Otomo is the greatest living artist. Like he's in that camp of you got to put him with like Mobius, Macquarie, and all them guys. Cobb, Mead. He's that good to me. Like, and I think like when I look at his work, the one of the reasons I love that guy's work so much is you hear this thing about like concept art. It's not concept art, by the way, but concept art. You're a costume designer, you're an architect, you're a product designer. You look at Akira, like all them comics. There's nothing that guy can't draw. Like,
because that's all him, right? Like, it wasn't like
him
direct. It's just purely him.
I might get this wrong. I want to say he did that whole comic by the time he was like 25 or something, which is just, I mean, that's insane. If he just did that, still the go, you know what I mean? But all the other stuff he's done, like, incredible. But yeah, he's just, and his work particularly, the way he treats shapes, like, I can really sort of see his, like, how much of an imprint he had on me. Because I would always say I'm a mix of three guys. I'm Simon Bisley, Otomo, and Ron Cobb. I'm kind of them in a blender.
Nice.
Not saying as good as any of them, but in terms of, I can point stuff in my work and say, I was definitely, there's a bit of Bisley, there's a little bit of Cobb, there's a bit of, you get what I mean? Like, they like made massive impact. And in no way am I their peers. I'm still a little underling.
No, I get it. And I think that's quite powerful as well, like to kind of recognize what your influences are and almost like tap into them, like, on demand, like you can't, I'm going to this guy for this, or just kind of like understand what your influences are. Has that ever changed though? Or has it always been those three?
No, I guess. So, if you say, Shaun, point to a piece of work that you would say is your style, which is just like coming direct, it's all down to me watching something like, I'll go away and draw it. All three of them are there present all the time. But what I kind of, I don't know if you had to do this as well, but when I was trying to become a concept artist, I felt like I had to park that and be able to do anyone's style. Because your concept, you want work. You want to be like, you don't want someone to look at your portfolio and say, you couldn't do this. It's like, wow, it's not in your folio. You can't do photorealistic and you can't do cartoony. So I purposely, like, for the first, definitely, the first 10 years of my concept art career, I was trying to not have a style. I was trying to actually be a piece of clay, I guess, for an art director to mold, because that's the job, isn't it? And I never wanted to get knocked back from potential jobs because someone said, I didn't see something in your folio. So my original portfolio, I've deleted it now, this was like years back. My goal was, when you go to the front page of it, I want it to look like 20 artists. I wanted every piece to have a slight different style, colouring style, line works, whatever. And I would say in the past 5 years is where I've kind of noticed my style and sort of put the trying to be please everyone concept art for hire thing, and slowly, no, this is what I'm about, this is what I like, and do more and more of that. Because I've done, we'll get into it later, we'll talk about the thing, but I've done 20 years of working on other people's things, and it was great, it was fun, it was amazing. But I've done it, now it's time for like, what about, I want to have a go at doing my thing. So now I'm embracing them styles and
nice,
not trying to compartmentalize it or whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to like, no, open the floodgates, let your inspiration sort of come through and work. And I'm not precious about saying that I am like a product of them free artists. I'm not like, it's like, I wear that on my sleeve type thing. It's like, I'm proud that like I do work that people like, and I can say these guys influenced me to do that.
Yes.
And I think it's important to have to acknowledge the people that influence, and show that, like, just tell students, like, look at this guy, then look at this guy. And it's always like going back, like seeing that journey and plotting it out is like important, I think. You just notice stuff and you start to pick up and, that's why that looks like that.
Yes.
And suddenly now it changes your thinking a little bit.
Yes.
On approach and stuff like that. I think anyway.
No, I totally concur with you 1,000,000%. And even if you think it's not that, if you have the opportunity to ever like look back and trace things back and see where did that come from, and obviously if you have the information as well to see what it was, every single time it's what you've experienced, you're going to realize, oh, it was this, oh, it was that, oh, it was that person. Whether it's a case of like someone dropping into uni to showcase what they did to influence obviously your journey versus you just, seeing upon a masterpiece for the first time and it just completely changed the makeup of your brain and your neurons. And it's just kind of like, and that's that kind of like the way human biology works, right? Like it's all about imprinting and it's all about influence, and whether good or bad, it's like you're going to react to whatever's in front of you.
This is what I hate. I don't want to get into AI, by the way. It's all been covered, but I don't like AI. AI doesn't have that. Because someone will type in a prompt and make it like Greg Rotowski. That's where the conversation ends.
Yeah.
You can't ask the person who prompted that, why do you like him? What did, that conversation and that sort of that journey backwards into the, what made Greg, psh, dead, boring. You know what I mean? It's just, that's why people say it's soulless, and because it is. I can't sit down and have we could go to the pub now and chat for 3 hours about this stuff. And it'll be easy because there'll be commonalities along our journey to get where we are. Yes. And that's the human part of, that's important when making your art. Like, it's not, we commercial artists, but we're artists still. There's still that love and passion is in there. And that's what I don't feel that the AI stuff, it can't do it. Which is why I don't think it's good. I don't like it.
I'm in the same boat as you, but let's talk about it a little bit, because for me, I've made my mind up. I don't like it. I don't want to get involved with it, but I understand it's like, I think we're entering the era where it was introduced and now it's just going to be literally just, if it's not rammed down your throat, it's going to be thrown at your windows. It's going to be flooded everywhere and like try and forced for you to use it, right? We've obviously experienced the eras where things transition from maybe analog to digital to almost like online, from all that kind of stuff. So, this kind of does feel like a similar kind of moment. And then you kind of see in those previous like kind of moments where people try to adopt things, try to resist, but then ultimately it kind of takes over. I'm not too sure about this one, but it does feel like we're in that kind of space. However, that's my opinion, but I'm always curious to hear what other people think as well. But from your perspective, when it came on the scene, did you ever experiment with it, or was it almost from the get-go, you just saw for what it is and you never liked it?
So when it first arrived, it was like funny. When it was so bad, it was daft. I'm kind of, that's funny.
Yeah.
And I was kind of not caring about it. Funnily enough, the person who sort of was like, no, this is bullshit, was Darren.
Yep.
With me and Darren having a drink one time in Manchester, and he was like, really sort of, and I was like a bit, it's whatever. I was a bit naive to what was going on, and I think he'd seen a little bit of, projected a bit ahead of me, because I am proper just like away with the furries most of the time. I'm not really thinking about this stuff. And at first I'd see people use it, like, I can't remember this. There was an artist who had done a few prompts and then he painted over. And I actually remember retweeting it saying, no, that's not a bad use of it. But I was completely oblivious to how it was made, all the ethical issues and the debt, all that shit, right? I didn't know anything about that. And then slowly I started to, because you couldn't ignore it. And when I started to see like, oh, this is how it's trained and all this stuff came to light, I was a bit like, oh, no, I'm not into this. But I never touched it. I'm not interested in it, because I'm not going to name any names yet, but I had some interviews where people saying, oh, we want you to use this. And they sort of framed it as, oh, but this, you have to worry about coming up with the idea part if you use this. And I was just like, that's what I like to do. Why would I want to, sorry, what? You basically, no, this is not a chore to me. This is not like digging a hole. Like manual labour, get a dig, if you can afford to get a digger, dig it, This is not the same. Like, that's the bit I like. That's the bit I love. That's why I do the job. So I was like, not interested. So I never dabbled with it, because it's just like, it doesn't interest me. The idea that like, some of my actual peers' work is in them machines. Like the ethical things alone, no. But then actually seeing what it produced, I'm saying, hand on heart, mean this, like, I've not seen a piece of single AI work that anyone's produced where I've liked it There's something about knowing that no one cared about that or there was effort. Interest switch just goes off. Don't care. It's something that I have to know that someone toiled with that. I appreciate the effort part. That's important to me with artwork. That's really really, really important to me. Like, no, I'm not saying you had to have like killed yourself to make something. I'm saying I want to know that you cared about it. Otherwise, I don't care about it. If you didn't care about it, why should I care about it? And all the artists who inspired me they cared passionately about what they did. So without that, you could show me something now, and I might not know it's AI, and I might go, that looks cool. Second you tell me it's AI, my brain just goes, no effort was put into that.
Yeah. I've experienced the same.
You know what I mean?
Literally exactly the same. It's like, and then I do think like, okay, so it kind of did get my attention first, and it's like, okay, that's cool. But then as soon as I heard it, like, am I being biased because I hating on it, or is it genuinely like, is there something genuine in me where it's kind of like, no, that already kind of kills the joy, and you kind of clarified it for me there. Like, there is something to that when there has no, like, history, there's no journey to get there. Like, and I think that also kind of like clarified for me what I do enjoy about these things. That you nailed it. Like, when there's no care or effort being put into it. And to be fair, there's some of the stuff that probably we do like. There's probably some controversial stuff that really went into that, like in terms of, like workers and artists, and some of it's like, a factory line as opposed to like pure artistry kind of thing.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, there's a legacy behind it. There's some like, lore behind it and all that kind of stuff as well. And the way you just mentioned it too, like, it's almost like telling a chef or Gordon Ramsay, you don't need to cook or cut any ingredients. Just put it in the microwave and go ahead. It's going to be like, what is the point?
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, me and my friends, this analogy is not going to work perfectly, but it's like going to it's like calling a forklift driver strong for lifting a pallet. And it's like, no, the machine did that. And it's impressive. I appreciate the engineering, but you can't jump out the forklift and start going, look how strong I am. It's like, no, I appreciate when a strong man lifts that weight because they've trained for that for years to be able to do that one thing. That's important to me, no matter what it is: music, art, filmmaking, anything. Like the shortcut stuff, like I just shut down. I'm like, don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care. No interest. Yeah, that's me.
No, that's fair enough. And I think, obviously, a lot of people think that way. A lot of people don't. And that's fair enough. Like, people are going to see it for what they're going to see. People are going to experiment. It's all good. But with your concept art journey, so when you started with the game design job that you had, but obviously, like, you established, drawing was like the thing. Like, clearly, it's like you're almost like your life force, so to speak. Did it ever feel like something that was kind of repressed, or was it always a healthy relationship with it, and then you kind of got it to where you needed to be in terms of like being a concept artist and a designer?
I've heard you talk about this with the guests. Like, it's been nothing but a joy for me my entire life. Like, it's been my outlet, my thing I do to. One of the things I do for stress relief is fun. I just love noodling away stuff, that's not client work or what have you. I love client work as well. But like I say, I was always, encouraged. Our house was very like, that was the thing. We were fairly a creative family, shall we say.
Nice.
Like, my dad's an actor. My sisters do one of my sisters is into sort of like really elaborate nail art, where they do like tiny paintings. My other sister's does these really sort of elaborate makeup things as well. So it was always a thing in the house. It never felt like it was something that was oppressed by anyone. And the only thing I would say is I won't say oppressed, but in terms of a battle with art is the imposter syndrome stuff and learning to deal with that. And the way that I can't, because there was no imposter syndrome for me until I got into the industry. Right. So when I was in school, I was the best artist in the school.
Yep.
Just was, I drew every day. Then I went to college. I might have been the best artist in my class, in terms of draftmanship. Then I went to uni and it was now you're the third best. Maybe that was the first time. Because I remember my dad saying like, you're not going to be the best drawer everywhere you go, And I was like, but oblivious to you, like, oh, okay, whatever. So then you go from uni to the industry. Now you're the worst artist in the company.
Wow.
It's that reset of like, oh God, right, I thought I was good. This is like what you need to get good. So, and I know he listens to this. So if you're listening, Ian, hello. I got sat next to a guy called Ian Thordy when I was a wee toe rag junior. This guy's an amazing artist, like incredible concept artist. So I looked at his stuff and I looked at mine and I was like, oh shit, I get it. Because my tutor was saying, Josh was saying, you're a good drawer, but you're not industry good. Okay. So he was the one who said, like, maybe learn some 3D because there's more 3D art jobs. Concept art's very specialist within a company. Mm-hmm. That's hard to get. You have to be a certain level, like, to get that. So why don't you learn 3D? So I was like, okay, I'll just do whatever you say. You're the boss type stuff. Mm-hmm. So my first artwork in games was 3D. So in that 5 years of when I was doing the design in 3D, I'm looking at Ian and people like him, and starting like this is like starting from scratch now. Forget what I've drawn in college and university. The training begins, like Luke on Dagobah when he goes to see the audience. Like, this is day one. Let's start. So that was when I was aware of imposter syndrome. I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't be here. That's when it hit. I was like, oh shit.
So before that point, you never kind of experienced that specific thing?
No, because I was just like I say, I'm a proper clown. I'm just I'm just like a child still. I'm just having fun doing stuff. I'm not thinking about what other people think about me when I was a kid. I was just lost in my interests and having fun. Like I had a really idyllic childhood in a way. Like we grew up like, I won't say like we weren't poor, but we were like working class poor. Yeah. But you didn't feel it. You always had food, you always had clothes, but your mum and dad were working their arse off, you didn't see it. So I just sort of floated through life, just sort of like having fun, playing with toys, reading comics and stuff. So, and I never ever was concerned about what people thought of my work because it just wasn't in my head. But then when I got into industry, it started to like drip in a bit because people, and they're not being mean when they say it, people say, oh, you're not good enough. Like, mm-hmm. And you've got to learn to sort of go, well, why am I not good enough? And sort of find out what am I doing wrong and work with it as opposed to sort of going, I'm an artist. Because, it's like, that's just not helpful, I think. I think you need to sort of confront what you're not doing and work on it. And I just did that. I just like, well, can you tell me what I need to improve? And I'll just go away and work on it. Like I said before we started, like when I get into something, like I just get obsessive into it. Yeah. And when I got the concept art job, my first concept art job, I went work, So I'm working 5 years at TT. This is that company I started at got bought by TT. We became Traveller's Tales Fusion, working on the Lego stuff. All the while I'm doing my drawing stuff in the background. And then I've been there for about 5 years, and a chap called John who used to work with it just been delivered that day. It was the Art of Atom Hawk Volume 1. And he said, oh, you love this stuff, don't you? So I was like, oh shit, what's this? So I'm looking through this book thinking this is incredible. And at the end, it said the address and it was in Newcastle. And I was like, what? This is in England? This is a place in England? Yeah. I didn't know, I wasn't aware. So I made a note of it. I was like, I'm going to apply there. So I did this plan of like, I deleted my old folio again and I went home and like I said, I got into it. I said, I'm going to give myself 3 months to make a new folio. Like, again, starting from now, I'm starting from scratch again because I'd seen their stuff. And I think I did 10 pieces. And again, I tried to do a bit of everything. And I applied with that portfolio. And that's what got me my first, like, concept art job. Like, Ron, we run out of more, said, come up. We'd literally just look. It was complete fortunate timing. They weren't advertising. I just sent it and they said, we're just about to start looking. So sick. I went up and had the interview, went really well. And yeah, I got in there. That's how I started. I started at Atom Hawk when it was like 8 people. Like this was like 15 years ago now. And that was Imposter Syndrome City.
Ah, okay.
That place was terrifying. Like there was some crazy shit going on in that company. Yeah, you're making like Lego games, these big games, but then I watched like Roberto design the Milano from Guardians of the Galaxy there. Like And I was like, shit, I've got to draw something tomorrow. Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
and Pete and all the Marvel stuff they did, my mate Tim, like working on the Thor 2 and all that stuff. And then you're doing Mortal Kombat. We were working on Injustice, and you're doing a Sonic game. It was a complete whirlwind. And I was just like bricking it every day. Like, I'm fired. But what I learned to do was, there was one thing that happened where I'd had this really bad day where I'd started on this job. Can't remember what it was for. It was something that never came out. And I started drawing these houses. It was like little exteriors of this American idyllic suburban thing in a Pixar style was the brief. And I drawing it. Wasn't happy. And looked at the clock and it was like 11:30. I was like, ooh, a couple of, it's all right. I'll go have my dinner. I'll come back and crack. I'll get this. Don't worry. Came back, tried to do it again. Then it was like 4:30. And I was like, oh my God, I've done no work. And I just suddenly went white. I just felt the blood drain. And Ron at the time was away. He was in America. So Pete, the lead, Pete Thompson, I said, Pete, we need to have a word. And took him outside. I said, I haven't done any work today. And he's like, what's up? And I explained it to him. He just looked at me and went, just do it tomorrow, and walked off. And I was like, oh God, right. It was a realization of, he got it. Sometimes we're not machines. Yeah. Sometimes you have a bad day.
Yeah.
And that was like a good thing of like, oh, right, if he didn't care, I shouldn't care because he's my boss. Yes. He's the guy who's like, and he did it in a very Geordie way. He's like, and he was right the next day I came in, I was like, oh, I did it. And I had a couple of them there, but I'd noticed it would happen. But then I'd noticed I'd noticed them do it a little bit, where they'd have a bad day. Now, to me, it didn't look bad, but to them it did. Yeah. I was like, right, they have bad days as well. They're not these, like, perfect, art gods. That's what they seem like to me. But seeing it, I was like, right, this is just normal. And I always said to, like, students, like, you can't get rid of imposter syndrome. You learn to live with it. It's just there. I just never ignore it. Now I just think it's there. That voice is, you're not doing it. But I'm just whatever. It's fine. And I just sort of get on with it and just, it's there, chipping away at my self-esteem and all this stuff. But I always said to myself, well, you've never been fired and people want to hire you for stuff. It's not what you think it is. It's fine. It's in your head type stuff. Yeah.
Sick. With that, like you said, like you felt like the bad days that you had and the imposter syndrome, and you mentioned there, like, the consequence of that, or the thing that was driving that was like, I'm going to get fired because I'm not meeting standards or whatever. Was that always generated by yourself? Like, did you ever actually get a scenario where you had a word like, you better sort yourself out because, your job's on the line? Or was that always like an internal dialogue that you told yourself?
No, so it's when I was thinking about this before the start. I was thinking about if you'd ask something like that. Okay. There was 2 times where 2 people who I met on my journey were very basically just trying to basically saying, you're never going to be a concept artist. You're never going to do this, right? These are people working in industry. And at the time when you're a kid and you hear that, you do sort of go, ooh, maybe I'm not going to do it. Like, maybe I won't make it. But now looking back in hindsight, them people are they tried it and couldn't do it. So they have to then say, well, if I couldn't do it, this person can't do it. Because these are, when I look back at these people's, I'm not going to say they are, but when I've seen their work now, they're not good artists. And now with the hindsight and the experience, I can go, right. So that happened. I'd experienced that, but I didn't let it deter me. I can sort of get into a bit why later. But the one time where this wasn't a job on the line thing, but like the first time I got some, I guess, tough love from Ron at Atom Hawk was we were doing some concepts for Injustice, the beat 'em up. And I'm a big Batman fan. I love Batman. So anytime it was Batman, Gotham, Skyline, loved it. It's fun. Strikers Island, that was cool. But then I got put on Aquaman, Atlantis. I hate Aquaman. I don't know anything about him. I just don't like him as a character. And I had to do 4 images to send off to NetherRealm. So because of the time difference, at 5 o'clock when you're done, they're getting up and looking at the work. So I'd done this work, submitted it, or set to the producer, Amy. Went home, and I was coming in the next day, and Ron came out. There's 2 offices. And he met me in the hall, and he said, let's go in the other room and have a chat. And I was like, oh, God, what's going on here? and he brought up the work, and he basically sort of said, "This work's really bad. I can't send it to the client." And I was just like, "Oh my god!" But then he said straight away, "But we're going to fix it." And he just talked me through how to fix it. So at first it was scary, but then he said, "It's not an issue. We can fix it." He went away and gathered, basically the ref I gathered was completely wrong. And he came back and put together some board and said, "Look at this bit here, make sure that you do that." Did it all, 5 o'clock that day, he went, "I'm sending that to the client," like, off it.
Nice.
Like, it just fixed it instantly. And that was like a time where I thought it was trouble, but it wasn't. Because again, as soon as your boss says, "Let's have a word," your heart goes, what's going on?
It's normally never a good thing. It's never about a pay rise.
Yeah, I wish. But, so that was good, because then I look at it again in hindsight, looking at the way Ron used to sort of be with me and art direct me. He was very like, he didn't bullshit you. He was very to the point, but always never nasty. Like blunt, straight to the point, but always, "But this is how we're going to turn it around," which you need that. So when I was ever art director, I'd always make sure that if I would tell someone this isn't going to work, make sure you've got an answer to help you. Make sure you can tell them how to make it work immediately after. You can't say that this isn't going to work. I'll be back tomorrow. Because suddenly they're like, "Oh shit, what's like?" You have to. If you're the art director, you need to know. You need to spot when it's going wrong and have an answer straight away. So the only two examples were, I mean, they're different, but where I did have a bit of a "oh shit" moment. Nothing like that since, touch wood.
Nice.
Just the desk.
And you kind of half answered it there. Like, so has that shaped you or how you modeled yourself as an art director too?
Oh,
when
totally.
you've taken on that role?
Totally. Yeah. Massively that. And a lot of it, I've been really lucky to work under some like really good leads. When I worked at TT, my first lead was a chap called Rog, who's from Newcastle. Again, very similar, very like, seems scary, but actually it's kind of that tough love thing where like this, I'm going to give you some feedback and it might sound a bit nasty. Not nasty, but like direct. He's not bullshit. He's not trying to sort of butter you up. He's just like, "This isn't bad. This isn't it. Let's fix it," type stuff. So I've worked with a lot of people like that, and that's the way I prefer for people to be. When I work with an art director, I don't like to be like coddled. Like, you can tell me if you don't like this. It's fine. You can tell me it's bad. I don't. I just developed that thick skin, because I know it's not personal. It's business, as they say. It's about the work. I'm a commercial. You've hired me. You're not paying me to be your friend, and you know what I mean. It's like, that's just the way I am. I respond to that well. Tough love. And I'm going to say, I think I know why. Is because I grew up quite like sporty. Like, I was quite athletic as a kid. I used to do gymnastics when I was like really young, like about 7.
Yeah.
But I think even you're supposed to start a bit younger. When I was a gymnast, learning to be a gymnast, it's incredibly brutal to like. It's a really hard sport to do, and I attribute a bit of the way, because I always remember certain moments of that where you'd get these like, what you see in movie, the pep talk from your coach type stuff, where they would always be telling you, "Look, if you want to be good at this, this is going to hurt your body. You have to, something's got to give for you to achieve this thing." And because I was really good. I was a really good gymnast, and I was on track to get put into the training to get selected for Olympics. Like, I didn't get selected, but they call it setting you on the thing, like, because I was really good. There was like me and I can't remember, like 3 or 4 people in the club I was. And I just remember that was always like, I'd always get that talk. I think he was called John, the guy, and I used to play I used to play basketball a lot, and I was really good for a tiny guy. I was really good at basketball. And that was another sport I did, like, where the rough and tumble of the sport and the competitive competition element of it and stuff toughens you a bit. You know what I mean? Because you know what you're trying to achieve something, and you understand to get that, some things aren't going to be nice, but it's not nasty. Like, when my coach was like having a go at me for the gymnastic stuff, he was critiquing my ability to do what he asked, not me. He's not bullying. You know, I get what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
I have that mentality with everything, like, I'm pretty hard to upset.
Nice.
For stuff like that, because I understand, because I've done it. I've been the guy who's like being directed, and I've directed people, so you suddenly get like a bit of a clarity on the thinking, on the way to approach it, and how to accept it and give it, I guess.
Love it. What kind of projects have you worked on? So, like, have you done pretty much everything, or do you tend to specialize in a certain kind of like realm or genre of kind of art or design stuff?
For like concept art,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've done a bit of everything. I think not characters is something I don't do really. Done a little bit, but I'm more of an environment prop, and now I guess through complete just accident, like I think people think I'm a vehicle specialist or vehicle artist, which was
That's what
never,
I
I never,
thought.
yeah, but I didn't set out to do that. That was like complete. I just happened to go that way, which it's going to sound really unprofessional, but my entire career can be summed up as I just happened to go that way. I never wanted to be a lead or anything other. You just sort of, I would fall into positions because you do something well and someone goes, "Oh, you should do that." And I'm just like, "Yeah, all right, I'll do it." And suddenly you're in charge of people, and then it just keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah.
And it's the same with vehicles. I just did some vehicle stuff. People liked it. Oh, they like that. I'll do more. So it's this like reinforcement loop, I guess.
Nice.
So now if you come to, like, if you literally don't know me, see me work, you think, oh, this guy obviously just does vehicle. And it's like, no, that's just what people liked that I did, I guess. People latched onto that. So maybe I am a vehicle guy and I didn't know it. And now I do know it. But in terms of what I worked on, like I worked on, what I'm proud of working on is the range. Like, so I've done like big AAA stuff, indie stuff, tablet games, Facebook games, handheld, like proper like pinball, like bit of everything, like really. So I was just always like, there's work there, I'll go to the work, didn't care what it was. Well, I cared if it was fun. If it sounded like something I wanted to do, I'd do it. And then as long as like money's never a reason why I take a job. If I'm speaking to a client, it's like, as long as I'm getting enough to pay my bills and I can have a bit of fun, take my kids to the arcade or whatever we do, it's fine. But the work's more important than the pay. I'll take a job that pays less if it's more fun than a job that pays high that isn't fun, which is, a luxury, I guess I could say. But I've worked towards being in that position. That's not just like, that's not by chance or, yeah.
And so with that said, do you have like a preferred kind of like thing to work on, whether it is AAA or indie, or do you, as like you said, as long as the brief works and everything aligns, you're down for anything?
Currently, indie. And that's not just because of what I'm doing. Like, when I went freelance, the first stuff I did was work with indie developers. I'd done most of my career is like, you'd say AAA stuff, like console games. And when you're working on something like that, you're part, it's a big, massive, like, hundreds of people working on stuff. Indie's like super agile and light. You can sort of, you have a chat with someone and work on something, and you literally, you're chatting about what you need to do and you're working on it within the hour. You don't have to arrange a secondary meeting with the producers, but the producers are busy on this other project. They'll be with you next week. Oh, this person can't make it. Can we push it? There's none of that like, complication that big organizations have. With indie, it's just like, literally I get a phone call off one of the clients on Discord and it's like, read this, and it's like, I'm doing it straight after talking, and then it's submitted. You know what I mean? It's like, because there's less moving pieces. And I loved that kind of like, this is so like easy. It's so breezy.
Right.
So now I tend to sort of, I'm enjoying that more now, because I enjoyed the AAA stuff. It was great. But at this point in my life, now I'm enjoying a little bit more freedom, a little bit more of that breezy, lighter work. And what's good about being freelance is now I work when I have an idea, not when I need to be at my desk. Like, when you work in a studio, 9 till 5, I work. Sometimes I will work at 9 for a few hours because I've got an idea. But if I haven't, I'll do something else until it strikes, because I know I've got that entire day to find them spots where I can be creative. And it's really hard to ever want to go back once you've experienced that. Like, that's just like I had a chat with like a pretty cool, like, what they called, concept outside, like in a concept art studio recently, and I wanted to really work with him. But when I found out, when we were chatting, we were having a bit of like a bit of an introduction thing. It quickly became apparent that the way I like to work now was like what they needed didn't work, because they said, "Oh, we need you at these times," and I said, "Well, one, I don't like doing that, and two, I'm doing something else in my own time. I split my week up into days for me, days for clients. So I said, I can't be doing, which is fine. It wasn't like a bad chat. It was more of a realization of, this isn't going to work. Yeah. So I lost work there potentially, but they weren't offering me the job. It was more, it was a chat to find out about this stuff. How do you work? Doing all this stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, well, the way you work, unfortunately, doesn't really sit with where I am currently. Now, if I wasn't doing my own stuff and I needed the work, I'd do it, but I'm for now don't need that. So I can be a little bit more picky, I guess.
Interesting. That does sound like a nice zone that I definitely want to work towards getting to. Do you feel like that's the zone, that kind of setup is what you need right now, or would you prefer that to be your thing almost for eternity?
I mean, it's what I need, definitely what I need right now. So the whole reason I even went freelance was I was working, like I say, working in house. The last in-house job I had was at Future Lab. They're the people who make Power Wash Simulator.
Yeah.
I took a art director job there and then ended up becoming the studio art director. And I quickly realised over the course of the last year I was there, I think I was there 3.5 years. That last year doing that job, I really sort of hit me like this. I need to be doing artwork again, because you don't when you're a studio level art director, I found that I wasn't doing any artwork very rarely. I think it'd been 6 months and I realised I hadn't drawn something at my desk, because you're doing all the other stuff that is, meetings, off-site meetings, wage reviews, helping with hiring, stuff like that. Stuff that needs doing, and there's people who are really good at that and better at it than me and enjoy it. I did not enjoy it, and I became really, I don't want to say depressed, but I became really sort of like, I was down about it. Uh-huh. Again, no issue with the studio or the people there. It was a realization that I'd, like I said, fallen into this position, and realised, you should have been paying attention, because you fell into something you really don't want to be doing for the rest of your life. So I and spoke to, was open with the studio about it and said, this is not for me. I'm not happy. And they were like, yeah, we get it. We understand. I was chatting to the boss there, and he was saying it's a common problem. They hire people who are really competent at this thing and good at it, and they struggle to, how do you get these people in these upper positions but still allow them to do the thing they're good at? And you can't, because that's what, now you're someone who delegates. That's the whole point, is that you're supposed to be sort of managing it.
Yeah.
And so they were cool about it, and I left, I resigned. Left on really good terms. It was all, gravy. And spent I think I didn't do anything for 2 months. I just had 2 months of just like walking, going out for walks.
Oh, wow.
There's a really nice little park near me, like a little sort of national park.
Nice.
Near Manchester, and just recharging and getting my head together. Like, what do I do? What do I do? And it was like, well, took a big gulp and was like, maybe I should try freelance, because I need to get some money. I knew by a certain date, the money that I was sort of sitting on would start to disappear. Yeah. I've got a mortgage, I've got family and kids. So I was like, right, I'm going to try this freelance thing. And I was shitting myself about that, because you just hear horror stories, don't you, about freelance work and not finding work and not getting paid. And again, touch wood, luckily I had a really good year. Last year, it was like I was constantly busy with clients and, just my own stuff as well. So that was like that could all change this year. You never know, do you? Because the industry is like crazy at the minute. But I was chatting to some people about that, because I was a bit like, why am I not struggling for work at the minute? And people saying, well, the thing you do is, one, I like doing the idea concept rough stuff. I like jumping on a project for like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, doing a load of rapid stuff and getting out and then getting another one. Whereas I found that it looked like, and again, this is just I could be wrong, when it looked like you was looking at LinkedIn, people who were doing like really nice keyframe stuff were struggling.
Mm.
And my brain was thinking, is that stuff that AI is taking and people want this more like actual sort of like old school design stuff, like getting, sketching, like designing something from scratch, but keep that ideation stage. So that's all I did for a year was just do that, like just hopping client to client and sort of, like I had a couple that I'd sort of be doing like relays with, I guess, coming back to one and coming back to one, doing stuff like that. Yeah. And I enjoyed it. It was good.
With freelance itself, obviously, aside from like the initial kind of like worry and anxiety of like, what's it going to be like again? I guess it's kind of like parallel to when you first started the studio work, right? And the concept art work, thinking a bit like kind of like Imposter Syndrome 2.0 again, because it's like nothing that you've experienced. Have you found it considerably much different compared to what you've experienced before? Or has it kind of been the same, but just structured a bit differently? If that makes sense.
So yes and no. In some cases, yes, some cases, no. It's the structure part of it that was the biggest, like, well, this is different because it's bang, bang, it's in and out. There's no, it just felt like, oh, this person's interested in working with you, let's have a chat Wednesday. And then if it's a go, it's like, you're working on the next day, like, go. There's no, like, let's get you set up on the system, or when you join a company, you have to do all that. IT needs your email, you can't, it's just like, can you start tomorrow? And I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted. I wanted out the blocks type thing, like, go. So I enjoyed that. That was because it was like straight to the main course. It was just getting to do the fun stuff. And the reason, I think the reason why I got work was when I was working in-house, over the years, you get people just reach out like, oh, you ever do freelance stuff? And it's like, I can't, because depending on who you work with, some companies don't let you do it. TT was just can't do anything outside of. But I stayed in touch with people. So the second it looked like I was freelance, I just messaged everyone and said, I think I'm free now. So they're like, good timing type stuff.
Nice.
So I got work that way, by doing a bit of outreach to people who'd asked in the past. And some of them would say, oh, not right now, but are you free in 2 months? And I'd be like, I think so. Pencil me in. So I was kind of like plotting ahead a bit, work that way. Yeah.
Going back a little bit to when you said you basically were away from your sketchbook, your canvas for a while, like you couldn't really create anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious about that because I've had a similar experience, and a similar experience where it kind of messed me up a little bit, and I didn't realize until it was quite far gone, like, oh, that's what's missing. How did it affect you, and how did it kind of eat away at you? Like, was it kind of something that slowly like ate away at you, or did you kind of notice almost quite quickly that, okay, I need to be getting back to this?
How did I notice I was unhappy, or how did I get happy? Those are two separate. Right, all right, okay. How did so one, I kind of had an inkling when I was doing the AD stuff. I just wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't sleeping a lot. Not because it wasn't like I was in bed worrying. I just realised that I couldn't relax because I was worried about, I'm not worried. Because I think I knew subconsciously, like, you're going to end up leaving this job. There's that thing that said, that you mentally leave a place before you actually leave a place. I think I'd done that.
Yeah.
And then it was a culmination of things that made me realise, one, I got really sick in December. I had this terrible ear infection, really bad. So I was going to the doctors, and the doctors were trying to sort of help me, solve this problem. So I had to tell them, look, I'm really sick at the minute. So they give me, I think I was off for like 3.5 weeks, which is really bad if you're a student, you're supposed to be the manager as well, or director of the department. So it was really serious illness, all my face swelled up. So I was getting that sorted out. And as I was sort of getting treatment for that, I was chatting with the doctor about general health anyway. And I started explaining what my habits were. My doctor was a bit like, like looked just a little sort of inquisitive. And then they said, oh, you said some stuff here that's like, I'd like to explore a bit. And I was thinking, what are they talking about? And I got referred to, I don't even remember what they were called. It was like a kind of mental health thing. I can't remember what it was. Again, just away with the video, I'll go to it, whatever, type thing. So I went and saw this other doctor, and I was explaining my like, I guess, a day in the life. Because she goes, when do you go to bed, blah, 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 and stuff. And then I'd gone through all this, and again, I'm just answering questions. I'm not really sort of super like present, I guess. I'm just sort of on pilot. And she goes, "Oh, you do realise you're in the beginning stages of burnout?" And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Look, you just told me that you get about 4 hours sleep a night. You do, she just started reaming all this stuff up, and then she started saying, "Do you do this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Yeah, you're burning out. You are like that's And she says, we can't say for sure, but when you're in burnout, your immune system, your body's not in a good thing. Probably why you can't kick this infection, which is like and nothing would get rid of it." So I was like, "Oh shit." And then we started getting into why burnout. And I just said, "No, this is what my job's like. I get on a job and I get like," and she goes, "No, this is," so through chatting to this doctor, she basically said like, it come down to, she goes, "Look, right, have you got enough money in the bank right now to not be working?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "And can you do that for X amount of time?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, she says, "Oh, maybe you should think about leaving your job." And I said, "Well, I can't. There's people depend on me, blah, blah, blah." And she went, "I don't give a shit about them people. I'm your doctor. I'm telling you." So I basically got a bit of a telling off from the doctor. And that kind of made it a bit like, I could see she was quite serious about it.
Okay.
So that was what pushed me. Because I'd like to say, I think I subconsciously was in the process of knowing I was going to leave. So that's when I had a chat with the company and said, "Look, I'm not only not happy, it's making me unwell. I'm not dealing with this quite well." Because I have that brute force. I'm just going to brute through it, and wasn't aware of the signs that this is not like good for you, sort of like physically, mentally. So I'd left and I had that 2 month just period of bumming around where I was just, because the kids had gone back to school, my wife went work, so I was on my own all day, and I'm in here in my office. But I was in the house, which I'm never in the house 9 till 5. I'm in my office. So I'd just sit in the comfy chair, just listening to podcast music. I go out doing loads of like walk for 2 hours.
Nice.
And just suddenly just felt like I wasn't quite aware how unhappy I was until I started feeling happy again. Because then you're like, "Oh, this is what it feels like to be normal." You know what I mean? Like a frog boiling in water, I guess. You're not quite sure. And suddenly I just felt like, like the infection cleared, everything just went. I was sleeping like a babe again. I noticed that my life suddenly changed because I'd got out of that situation. And the second I was feeling happy again, my brain goes, "Well, what else makes you happy is drawing again." So it was kind of like I had to feel happy again to know that, this is what I'm supposed to feel like. Just a little bit blind to it because I've been in it for so long, you know what I mean? It's like, this is like a year of this, where it starts.
Yeah. Now, I can definitely relate to a lot of that kind of stuff. And the fact that you mentioned a year, like, I'm not surprised, just because of how long it takes to either A, fall into it, B, recognize it, and then C, just start getting back out of it again. Has it threatened you again, or would you say you kind of past that and you kind of know, if it ever does, how to kind of get back out of it?
Well, I know it's not happened again. Like I said, I've had a really fun year, really, really fun year, probably one of the best years, because I've just been enjoying work. Been getting out of, you get out of bed early to start on something when you've got a bit of work. So it's one of them again. And two, this shouldn't happen again because I've made a vow that I'm not going to go back into them jobs. That's it. I'm done with being a manager, if you know what I mean. Like, that part of my career and life. Never say never. You never know what the future might happen. Sure. You might need a job, but if I can help it, I'm never going to do that again. Like, because I don't want to, and I know, no matter how good it seems. Like, there's a couple of projects like IPs. I love to go work on Doom or work on Fallout. I'd love it. And someone said, "Oh, you got to come be a lead or a thingy." That would I'd trick myself into, it'll be fine. But I know that 6 months, a year into it, I'd be like, because I'd be watching people. If you're a lead, sorry, not a lead, or higher up you go, you just watching your team make amazing things. And I don't, I want to be I want to be in the trench. I don't want to be, so I can't, I won't let, again, if I can help it, go into that type of work again now. The thing about freelance, you can sort of earn more money doing the thing you love, you know what I mean? Because you can charge more because it's a bit more of a volatile So I've kind of made the difference up there. You know what I mean? And I live in Manchester. It's not like everywhere's expensive, but it's not like London. So I don't need. So if I get like a client, like an American client or a client from down south, the money's just like, this is a lot of money to me. That's what it feels like because my bills are paid and I've got a bit of spare to buy again, take my kids somewhere. That's all I need. That's all
nice.
That makes me happy. Yeah.
That's incredible. What else is incredible is what you've been working on. This kind of this thing that you're doing. So you mentioned you had a great year and you've been working on this thing. Let us know what it is.
Yeah, so one of the other things I have been doing is me and a friend, a colleague I work with for, God, I think I've been 15, 17 years, chap called Mark Werrett. He's a designer. Worked with him at TT. We worked together at Clever Beans, other studios. And me and him have started our own indie company now, like micro indie company. And it's just me and him, really. And we never set out to make a company. It's just that you need a company for certain legal things with like, if you want to sell a game on Steam and stuff, you need a company, you need a business account, all this type of stuff. And that means you need an accountant. And if you want to go and get funding, certain grants, government grants, need to be a company. So it was never, let's make a company. It was, let's make a game. Shit, we need to make a company as well. So, so we had to do that. So we made a company, indie company. We called Machine Fun. Basically out of our bedrooms in Manchester. And we're working on our first indie game because, like I say, when I've worked in other studios and I've been involved with design or any creative direction stuff, it's frustrating when something you've really toiled over and put a lot of passion into doesn't get the go ahead, doesn't get made. It's only happened, I think, once in my career. One game we did like that, and now it was a kind of, if we decide to do this, no one can tell us no. You know what I mean? It's like we're the masters of our destiny type thing, and that was really appealing to me and Mark. Of like, let's make, like, me and you could make something, and no one can tell us we can't make it, as long as certain things are in place. Like, we know what we're doing. We know what type of game we're making. We need to get some funding later in the year, some additional funding. We're basically funding it ourselves for now, which is great because, again, you've got freedom. It's your money. You've not got someone apart from to each other saying maybe we shouldn't spend money on this and that. But it's a complete different sort of. It's so free. Like, and again, me and Mark, like, we work super like agile together. Like, let's have a chat on Discord and we'll hash something out, and he'll go and do his bit. I'll go do mine. Within 2 days, it's in engine. We're playing it and we're chatting about it. It's just bang, bang, bang. And I love that. Like that again. That's completely different. That was a really enticing thing. So yeah, we're working on that, and like I've sort of hinted at, it is based around my Street Sweepers project.
Yeah.
Which there's like, that's not like, there's a reason why we chose that. But I guess just to sort of back up a bit and to explain what the Street Sweepers project is in general, is that started off as a little side project I was doing outside of work to relieve the stress of, you work on a job, you're not necessarily always doing what you want to do and you're not enjoying it, but you just got to get your head down and get on with it. So occasionally, like, I know you do this as well, and every artist, we have little things that we like to do where we get to be in charge of our little world. And so it started off as that. And again, there's like a lineage right back to Akira, Ghost in the Shell, White, Street Sweepers, and Ron Cobb. I always loved artwork or concept art or world building where the background stuff is just as interesting as what's happening in the foreground. So, like, you think about Blade Runner, all the cars in the traffic, and then Akira, everything in the background of Akira. And in Ghost in the Shell, there's a chase scene with a bin wagon. And it always struck me as like, wow, they made a bin wagon look cool. Like,
yeah.
And we all do this, and it's fine. I love drawing tanks and guns and stuff. But the idea of taking something that's like mundane and making it as cool as that was really appealing. So that's why I started doing it. Oh, and I'd see street sweepers driving around Manchester or whatever.
They're so cool generally anyway.
They just look, you could just plonk it in a film, do a little bit of, spraying on it, a little bit of set dressing on it, and bosh, you're in. So I always thought, they're cool. And this, like, going around in my head for years, I'd see them, and I should draw one of them. and years of procrastinating, I guess. One day I was like, I'm going to draw that street sweeper thing tonight. So I put on some 80s music. And I just drew the first one and really sort of liked it. You know, like, when you hate your own work the next day, I looked at it, it's not bad. I quite still like it. So I kept doing it and doing it and doing it. I was building up like a collection, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And I also here's another thing as well. Like, when I was doing it, you know, that thing about style and like realizing that's my style. This was the project where I realized, oh, this is me. This is purely me now. It was like a bit of a, wow, oh yeah, this is what, and other artists would say, oh, that's your style. And I was like, is it? So it was kind of like me realizing it and other people. And it was when I was drawing them original sketches, because I didn't have that like thing in my head, it's for this, I'm going to show it here. I was never going to show it. So it was the first time where I felt like I completely let go of everything that's in your head as an artist. Oh, will people like it? Well, you know, all that type of stuff, which we do, you know, we all get in our head. So I think because it was free of that, it was a lot more of me ended up being in it. So anyway, so I'm building this collection of sketches up, and then just other artist friends would see it. You know, you'd show your friends on Discord, and they'd all be like, oh, this is cool. What? You should show this. You should do this, dude. And they were all saying you should, giving me ideas what to do with it. I was like, really? And I remember there's a chap called Rob Turpin, and he said, like, people will go bananas for that. They'll love that, because he'd done a similar thing with his project. So I just put them online, and he was right. It just went like viral online, and I was like shocked at how like the response to it, because they're like dead simple to do, and they're like in terms of like the amount of like time it takes to produce one, and the level of, again, because I'm being free, I'm not worried about anyone saying, oh, his rendering's not nice and that. It's just block color. It's just the bare minimum, like straight to the chase. Like there's no fancy rendering on them. There's simple, again, it's line work, just nice, tidy line work, and then just some simple block color. And that was it. I was like, this is what I do. This is me. And so when I do client work, that's what I deliver, stuff like that now, because I realized, this is my quickest A to Z sort of path, shall we say. So I did them, put them online. This was like 5 years ago. I've been like, occasionally we'll just post out little batches of them. And I was constantly getting asked, like, what is this? Is it going to be this, going to be that? And my original plan was to make it a book, because I thought, I don't need anyone for that. I can make an art book. And I wanted it to be like a little collection of sketches that another art director would have on the show. You know, like, so occasionally you just pull a book off and have it, that's cool, and set you off. Yes. That sounded like really sort of like charming to me, that, I could be a book on the shelf. But then someone suggested you should make it into a game, and I was like, I don't think it'll work as a game. But then the seed was planted there, and then again my brain was like, well, what if it was? Like, how would you do it? So I had one version of it, which was like, again, the typical thing, you go straight to the big all singing, dancing version, where you need 30 people and a couple of £1 million. And I was like, well, we haven't got that. It can't be that. So I started to de-scope. And I'm doing this, we had that little time off period. I go to the coffee shop and have a little, I have this little book here, and I just start just pouring my brain out on paper. It's not sketches, but it's just,
okay.
You see that? It's just every idea I've ever had about it being a game. So I just started putting this together. So it's beginning of, and while this is happening, I'm sort of, socializing with friend Mark down the pub, and we're both grumbling about the industry, and I wish we could do this, wish we could do that. So that was like the beginning of us starting to realize we should work together on something. And again, it just lined up that we were working on, I was freelance doing artwork for a game, and he was designing freelance for it, and our contracts ended. So we were out drinking it before, like, this is the end of that. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to do freelance, but I don't really, I'd like to be doing this. And Mark was like, I don't want to get another job. I want to do our own thing. So we kind of agreed there to do it. And he's like, well, what do we do? And I said, well, I think, so I showed Mark, said, what about a game about these? Because Mark was aware of it, he knew about the street sweepers. And we'd spoken, down the pub, you could do that with it. So he was kind of he already had a bit of an in that this was a thing we could do. But the reason we chose to go with that is because And again, it didn't start out like this. We'd already solved a big problem, is that it had appeal visually, that they had appeal. Tick, done. It's been proven. I have market research, by accident that proves that. So I was like, well, people really love these. Let's do something with something that people like already. We don't have to convince people to like them designs or anything. So I was already getting enough of that back through like posting on social media and other websites and stuff. So I had this idea for the game, and I give Mark the lowdown, and he went and prototyped that. And we quickly realised through playing it that idea was not going to work because it's theoretical at this point.
Yeah.
You think it's going to be good, but it isn't when you actually start prototyping it. So Mark said, "Tell you what, you give me your baby. I'm going to go away and I'm going to I'm going to figure out how to make this into a game." And then he came back a couple of weeks later. I've got a new prototype. It keeps all the stuff that you like, that I thought was important to the character of the game in there. And we just played it, his prototype, just simple cubes, prototype stuff, and we couldn't stop playing that. And then we realised, oh, this is something right now. This is it needs a bit of work, it needs a bit of this and a bit of that. Let's do it. And I must have took about a month, I'd say, so we had a prototype where I could not stop playing it. I was playing it more than my consoles,
Wow.
The new COD had come out. I was like, I don't care. I'm playing because Mark had just made this super addictive little, this cool little game. And I know that this will come out after our Steam page should be out by the time this is.
Okay.
So I can sort of explain a bit about the game now, because people will see it. We have a little sort of teaser prototype trailer. And what Mark figured out was, well, the street cleaners, cleaning really should be integral to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my idea, you drove into trash it's a bit like Twisted Metal Micro Machines.
Okay.
Mixed with the the start of Akira, they're all fighting on bikes.
Yeah.
I said, what if they're fighting in trash machines? That'd be a cool little thing. So it was more of a PvP 4-player thing. And but then we're like, well, network code, we should not do an online game. It needs to be single player. It's our first game. Network code costs. We don't have experience doing network code, servers, blah. It's just a headache to try and do on your first game. So again, we're trying to be very smart and really sort of not shoot ourselves in the foot, basically, and make sure our decisions. So Mark said, let's make a single player game where we drop the competitive combat and make it about focus on the cleaning. So the way it works is it's a bit like Tony Hawk. So it's like an arena filled with shit and dirt. And you have to stylistically drive around your little street sweeper and clean up the dirt in the fastest time possible. But the way the vehicle controls, it's weird, but on purpose, because it has a very unique control system that when it clicks with you, suddenly it's like, oh, I get it. And it becomes that it's about mastery of something. So you just get I got obsessed with getting good at the game, to the point it was well, if I'm obsessed about this and we know the appeal, other people will. Mm-hmm. And that's where we kind of were right, I think what you've done on the design side is really sort of working for me. What I'm doing on the art side, so we put them together, and sort of that's where we're at. And as we're recording this, I think we've been working on it for about 3 months now. But we haven't
okay.
about 3 months. But we're actually we're probably further along than people think. Because again, we're super fast. We can get stuff in quick, and we've got a lot of work to do. We're giving ourselves about a year to make it, because we're just keep the scope down. That, again, another thing we both realised from working in industry is really sort of being clear about what you set out to do and to achieve it. So games always get feature bloat, and here's another thing that happens as well. You'll write in a big studio, you'll do a game design document. You'll start making that. This is all theoretical game design document. You should be prototyping as well to prove it out. But I've worked on projects where they wrote, this is what the game is. You're now 2 years into development and you're playing it going, this game's not fun. We need to do X, Y, and Z to make it fun. And you get told, but that's not in the game design document. And we're like, yeah, but who cares? That was 2 years ago. It needs to be fun. So what we've done, this is we don't write a GDD. We prototype, play, iterate, and talk about what we've done.
Interesting.
Is that fun? Why is that fun? because we're trying to be like, we've what's the word? We've figured out what's fun in our game, and we like, right, keep that. That's the core. Build out from this. If you do anything that like makes this core not fun, drop it. If it adds to it, keep it. And it's pure, it's iteration. It's like a living project. We always say we don't tell the game what it is. The game tells us what it is through playing it and discussion. And we also do another thing is where we have very clear, like, straight down the middle, your design, I'm art. I have opinions about what you're doing and you with me, but we also do this thing of trust the other person. If he's got experience at doing what he does, he gets final call on it. So this is Mark's design. It wasn't even, I was just like, here's my design. He went, no, we're not doing that. I was like, all right, you're the designer. You do it. And, he'll have opinions about the art, but if I say, no, I really want it to look like this and here's why, we trust each other. Because that's another thing we both experience in the industry is like, sometimes someone's telling you how to do your job and they've got no experience doing it. Yes. And it's like, why are you telling me what things should look like? You're not an artist.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's frustrating because you're doing something that's making it worse. Whereas if the person who really knows about whatever that field is, let them go free, go mad, be creative, do what you think. So that's the spirit of the studio.
Nice.
And so far, so good. It's working out really well, yeah.
Do you guys, it sounds like it, but do you guys have like a healthy dynamic and healthy relationship with how you guys work and split responsibilities?
Well, yeah, because I've known Mark for, I want to say about 18, maybe, when he started. I think it might have been 19 years. I've known him. He started when I started about a year after me, 6 months. I'm hazy. It could be 20 years. I really, I have no idea. It's a long time. So we have loads of experience working together. He was always a designer. I did a bit of design as well. So we have that in common. But then also, like, we both, we have very similar interests. We have very similar sort of ideas about what makes a design good, what makes it bad. We're very aligned on a lot of that. But we're also very different people as well. Mark's very organised, very tidy, and I always say I'm not. I'm very sort of, a bit, like I say, away with the furries. I'm like a monkey in a cage throwing shit, but together we make it work. You know what I mean? Like, but we are completely sort of like aligned on the things that we want to achieve, and the things we don't want to do. Like we've seen projects go off the rails or when issues hit, and we've made notes of like we won't do that. So we're hyper aware of things in our plan of what not to do as much as what to do. Which is important. Like I wouldn't got into this with many other people.
Yeah. It's
got to be the right like person to do it with. Yeah.
When we was chatting offline to set this up and you mentioned that you're working on a game, you're working on this, I was like, okay, so he's built a little kind of like a team, and I expected like, maybe not double digits, but close to. And then the fact that he said it's like 2 guys and it's pretty much you're running your own kind of departments. That was like, wow, that's fascinating. But then obviously from your experience and what you have experienced, both of you guys, it makes sense. So you guys know what goes into the sausage. You know how things are made, and you know what things need to be done. Has anything surprised you still though on this adventure?
The biggest surprising thing is like when we look at how much we've done. That is like, it's kind of like that validation of like, I knew I was right. I knew this could be done better if we did X, Y, and Z. That's been really, because I've shown you the trailer, and I sent it to you a while back. Like that whole thing that you've seen, we made that in a month. Like that's how quick that got put in. Like we've shown people, and they've said, "Why is this not released?" And it's like, because that's not the game. That's the prototype. That's
brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
So we've been really. That's been cool to see that. Like once these things that I consider blockers, which people, no one ever puts blockers in the front of projects on purpose. It's just that it gets a bit bogged down. Like say, when things get big, it gets bogged down. There's a lot of moving parts. The second you strip them moving parts out, and you've got two, like me and Mark are both like really driven. We really care about this. We understand it like through, like inside and out. There's just nothing that can sort of get in the only thing that can get in the way is getting the funds for it. Like but we in the beginning process of starting to try and get some of that funding in. There's ways to get like grants and stuff from the UK government, and we don't need a lot. We need a tiny budget to make this game. It's just I say it's just two of us. We will use contractors. So there's a couple of things we can't do, like game music and game sound. We're going to need a professional guy. We have a friend who does that, so we're in talks with him to sort of like we need to get a bit of budget together to say, right, here's your money. How much do you need? Excuse me. You go away and do that. And another one's VFX. So again, another friend, a guy I went to uni with actually, guy I've known like 24 years at this point. We're thinking, how much do you need? I'll try and get him the budget. And I have a friend called Dan he's helping a little bit like graphic design stuff. So we have little pots of money that we just sort of, he needs this to do this, that to that. But the idea is it's just the studio will only ever be me and Mark. We've got no plans to grow. We just want to, it's us two. We make the weird little games we want to make. And if we've got money, we bring in contractors for little stints to help out and stay light, stay like super cheap and agile. And,
yeah. That is absolutely fascinating. And myself is like getting more and more fascinated and definitely trying to dip my toes into that kind of like whatever it is. I don't know how it's going to manifest, but like as an indie creator, is that indie kind of space, like there's such a draw for that. And basically what you guys just mentioned and how you guys are doing it is that kind of stuff. Like whether it's the freedom side of things or the fact that you can get things done, and it's all to a vision and it's kind of working. Like you said, like when you said like you were right all along and it's kind of working. Yeah. I think that's going to be like, I think it's already a wave, but I think that's going to be a thing that when we look back on in a certain amount of time, like that was kind of the moment when this kind of stuff started to emerge and these people started to do this kind of stuff.
I think the way that the games industry is at the minute, it feels, and I hope I'm right, obviously, because I kind of feel like it starts swinging back to that double A indie again, because this is what the industry does. Everything does this, it's a pendulum. Like, do you remember there was like a time where indies around Xbox Arcade were just like, it was all indies, and that space sort of exploded, and then sort of AAA. It kind of feels like AAA is in a bit of a spot at the minute where there's a lot of sort of downsizing, unfortunately, people losing their job. I think there's a lot of people who are looking at each other going like, sod this, we should do something together now. Like, why, look at all the stuff that's gone on recently, Concord and Highguard and all that type of stuff. It's, it just feels like that's what's happening. And our hope is that we're in the water just as that wave crests. You never know. Because this could all just blow up on our faces, but at least we were saying the other day, like, at least we failed on our terms and it wasn't someone else. And like, I'll be happy with that, because that's what you chose to do.
I think that's the most appealing thing, at least from my perspective. It is like, yeah, sure, there's a lot of risk and there's a lot of like maybes and all that kind of stuff, but you can see the passion, you can see the drive, you can see the goals, you can see the thought process behind it as well. It's not like a punt. Like, you guys have that knowledge and you're using it correctly. Like, it's super cool and super fascinating. What does the next step look like? So now that this is where it's at, obviously when this is out, it's going to be like, there's going to be a Steam page and all that kind of good stuff. What kind of next steps do you guys need to take now to bring this to life?
So what we're doing is we're going to do something a little bit. It's not like completely original, but it is quite different for games. As we're making the game. We know what we've got to do, right? But what we're going to do is we are going to do open development as well. We have like social media pages that we've set up for the company, and the idea is we're going to show everyone us making this game. Like, from the second that the social media page was set up, here's what a level looks like in Blockout. Here's what a concept sketch looks like. Here's what here's Mark messing around in Godot, which are the engine we use. This is how he does that. We want to completely sort of pull the curtain back and say, come with us and watch us try and make this game. Watch us succeed. Watch when it goes horribly wrong. We'll show all the glitches, the bugs. We'll show the idea is like, we want to build an audience. Like, come with us while we make this, because people, I think, like, I know I'm fascinated with that. I love watching something being made or a documentary about why it was made. I love hearing, again, it's that journey. I want to know the decisions that led to this, and this. like little side note here is like, I don't like Prometheus. Is it Prometheus? But the making of Prometheus is insanely good.
Yeah.
I think it's called Fury of the Gods.
Still haven't seen it
It's
yet.
oh man, it's the most fascinating making of like. It's just I was on the edge of my seat watching it, going, "Oh my god, this is crazy!" I love that stuff. Prometheus looked amazing, by the way. I know some of the artists who worked on that. It's incredible work, but I didn't like the film. But I loved seeing. I'm just as interested in why it didn't work as like that, and we want to do that with our game.
Nice.
And the hope is that like if people are invested in it, you've built an audience ready so that when you release, they can go, I've been watching this thing, I've been watching this, now I get to actually sort of get my hands on it and play it. And because when you're indie as well, we haven't got marketing budgets, we can't do like any crazy. So this is like guerrilla indie marketing. So that's like one thing we're doing. And then the other thing is that we've noticed is you have to get out and do legwork for your game. So like going to indie showcases, submitting your game to indie showcase and hopefully get selected, because then you get coverage. We're hoping to sort of build up like from nothing to something. And we did some like rough calculations. The sales projections that we need to hit for 2 people, if the game comes out, it's not crazy. It seems doable. Nice. We're not looking to be multi-millionaires. We just want to pay our bills and have fun.
Yeah.
And touch wood, the idea is that we hit that, we're happy. Anything above that is a bonus. And we just kind of want to make something, get it out, and hope that made enough money to let us do it again and again and again until the wheels fall off, basically.
I love it.
Because it's just, again, we're not doing it for money. We're doing it because it's for the creative, like the passion and the fun of doing something creative. Like it's incredibly satisfying. Like last night, I was working on like one of the tutorial level till about 2 a.m, but just wide awake. It's like buzzing doing it. I was like, I need to go sleep. I've got client work in the morning, so that's so when that's happening, it's good, because that's the thing I was missing, that fun. That like being happy doing the creative stuff.
Oh, that's absolutely incredible. Thinking further down the line, games come out and it's a success and you've hit those kind of targets that you wanted to hit, hopefully exceeded them too. Have you already got ideas of what's next? What other games you might want to make?
We occasionally jokingly say we should have another idea, and it's like we've not even started this one properly. But you do have to, let's call it having a bullet in the chamber, shall we say? And we need to figure that out. And the reason we need to figure that out is because, one, obviously you need to know what you're doing, but you need that time to develop it, right? As into what you need to have thought about what you're going to make a lot before you start making it. The one thing that this project has got going is this is a project that's been bubbling in my head for 5 years. And when I, did this book stuff, even though not everything in this book is necessarily like useful per se, I spent a lot of time doing, if you're a creative director, you have to know your thing inside and out. So when someone asks you a question, you can't say, I don't know. You have to know. And the reason that this thing's going so smooth is that, like, I know, like, a lot about what this should be. I know about the tone, I know about the setting, I know what the cars are like, I know what, you know what I mean? I've spent a long time thinking about this stuff before the rubber meets the road, That's the thing I see a lot with, like, in game dev is, like, it's not had that time to, what's the word, come to fruition in that prototype stage where you're golden, now you're building on solid ground. It's the analogy of foundation. Your foundation's got to be solid. Build on shaky foundation, and it gets wobbly up top. So there will be a point down the year where we will seriously have to start going, you know what, we have to have something by this time. So yes, we've had discussions. So one thing that we think, this is again, we kind of said it as a joke, but it's actually something that we feel actually is a good thing, is we want our company to have a game that you can say that's a machine fun game, and personality, or whatever you want to call it. What makes a machine fun game? We figured out what that is, And what we think it is stuff based around machines, because that's what I draw. And it's what we're interested in. You know, we just from like complexity, say, like making a character in a game is a lot of work. It's hard work, rigging and all that stuff. Machines, like them vehicles in that demo I showed you, like the rig, there is no rig. It's pivot points in Blender with a child parent setup. Pass it to Mark. All the animation's procedural. Like there's no, it was done in a day. Like bang, done.
Wow.
It moves, it animates, it reacts. With a character, it's not quite the same. So our thinking is, let's only do stuff about machines because we can make it quick. and it's a bit odd and different. It's like, oh yeah, they're the game that always does. So whatever it will be, it will most likely have some kind of machine. Could be a vehicle, could be a robot, could be a drone. I've got this sketchbook, it's over there. There is a little thing I am starting to noodle with. A little few, like, I have like a proper sketchbook, you know, pen and paper. And there's something I've been drawing in there that has been getting, from the people I've shown, it's getting a good response. So it could be Mark II of what the Sweepers was, in that it's a little thing. I don't know what it is, but I know it's got appeal. I know it's making people go, ooh, that's cool. So it basically, right, put that in there. That's in the potential folder. So I'm kind of now realise what I'm doing with my artwork on social media is I'm doing stealth market research as well to find out what are people responding to, and trying to nobble that issue before you decide to, like, all right, do you like this? Now what do we do with it? Like,
yes.
I think that's important for us, because again, it makes sure that we're on solid ground when whatever we decide to do, it will have gone through that process again of me firing it out there and seeing what people see. Some people seem to like little emergency vehicles, like British
I'll
ones.
probably have. I need to like recap, but I'm sure. Whenever you post, I always see it on my feed anyway, so I'm definitely think I've seen it.
So I've kind of put the feels out a bit, but I go to like a sketch club nice. Not every Saturday when I can make it. So a lot of the Cloud Imperium guys, like Alberto, you had on here, and Noax, Alex, and Sheng shows up occasionally when it's not globetrotting. And I started in there. I started drawing it in there, and they were looking, oh, that's nice. I was like, okay, tick, a little thing there, make a note of that. So yeah, we need to sort that. But right now, it's we talk about what's next, but it's in a jokey way. But it's also like, no, we really do need to. Because a year's going to go by quick. Like a year years just when you get older. So we'll see. Oh, we could just do, if this is successful, we might do another one of them, then do something else. You know, because like there's no multiplayer in this version yet, because obviously there's stuff that we can't do yet on budget. Maybe the next one, if you make enough money, you can build that into it. So who knows? We'll see. Yeah.
Exciting. Shaun, sadly we have to wrap up. We've run out of time. Before we head off, any final thoughts or words from yourself to the listeners?
No, well, just, keep doing what makes you happy. You know, that's what you've got to be happy. Like this, are you doing this? This isn't a job to me. This is what's the word? What do they call it? A compulsion. Like I can't not be doing this thing. This is my happy place doing art. And I know some people it's making music doing that, but yeah, just find what works for you, find what makes you happy, and just go with that. Trust in that.
Amazing. Shaun, thanks so much for jumping on.
Yeah, cheers, Aaron. It's been a pleasure.
A huge thanks to Shaun for jumping on. Hit the links to check out Trash City Turbo and to wishlist it. And also to see more of what Shaun is up to. Then when you're done, head to learnsquared.com and take courses that can help you on your own indie journey. Remember, all of our first lessons are free. I've been your host, Aaron Danda. Till next time.